My phone buzzed at 11:47 p.m. It was a video from my sister Sarah, 45 seconds, that would destroy everything I believed about family. In that video, I heard my mother say something about my 3-year-old son that no grandmother should ever say. And I've been paying their mortgage for 8 years. Hi, I'm Jennifer Martinez, and this is the story of how one accidentally sent video exposed the truth I'd been too blind to see, and how I used that truth to reclaim my life. If you've ever felt taken for granted by family, or wondered if you're just an ATM machine to your relatives, stay with me. By the end of this story, you'll learn exactly what to do when the people who should love you most see you as nothing but a resource. And if this resonates with you, hit that subscribe button, because stories like this need to be heard. Now let me take you back to that night. But first, you need to understand how I got there. 8 years ago, I was 27 years old. My career as an IT project manager was taking off. I'd just gotten my first major promotion, and I was finally making the kind of money that felt like real financial security. That's when my parents called with the news that would change everything. "Jennifer, honey, we need to talk." My dad's voice was heavy on the phone. "We're in trouble with the house. The bank is threatening foreclosure." It was 2016. The economy was still recovering. My parents, Robert and Linda Martinez, had made some bad financial decisions during the recession, and now their chickens were coming home to roost. The mortgage was 3 months behind. Utilities were getting shut off. They were drowning, and I was their only successful child. My younger sister Sarah was 20 at the time, still figuring out what she wanted to do with her life. She lived at home, worked part-time retail, and had no savings. I was the responsible one, the one who'd always had her life together, the one who could help. "It's just temporary," my mother assured me. "Just until we get back on our feet. 6 months, maybe a year at most." I believed them. Why wouldn't I? These were my parents. They'd raised me, fed me, put a roof over my head for 18 years. Wasn't it my turn to help them? So I started paying $2,400 a month for the mortgage, $800 for utilities, groceries when they needed them, gas money here and there. It added up fast, but I told myself it was temporary, just until they stabilized. But here's the thing about temporary help. It has a way of becoming permanent when nobody's keeping track. Year 1 became year 2. Year 2 became year 5. Before I knew it, I was 35 years old, a single mother to 3-year-old Noah, and I'd been funding my parents' entire existence for nearly a decade. How did this happen? How did I let it go on for so long? Looking back now, I can see all the red flags I missed. My parents never showed me any financial documents. They never provided proof they were looking for work or trying to improve their situation. There was no timeline, no exit strategy, no plan for when the temporary help would end. Every time I gently suggested they should start taking over the bills, my mother would get emotional. "After everything we've done for you, you're going to abandon us now, when we need you most." My father would get stern. "A good daughter takes care of her parents. That's how family works." And I'd feel that familiar knot of guilt in my stomach. And I'd keep paying. The psychological manipulation was subtle but effective. They'd built their entire argument on one foundation. I owed them. They'd given me life, raised me, sacrificed for me. This was simply the natural order of things. Children repay their parents. What I didn't understand then was that love isn't supposed to come with an invoice. The requests gradually increased too. First, it was just the mortgage and utilities. Then it was help with their car payment. Then groceries became a regular thing. Then my dad needed new golf clubs because his old ones were worn out. Then my mom wanted to redecorate the kitchen because it was depressing her. I paid for all of it, because that's what good daughters do, right? Meanwhile, my own life was on hold. I'd divorced Noah's father when I was 6 months pregnant. He was abusive, and I knew I had to get out. Being a single mom was hard enough without the financial burden of supporting 2 additional adults. Every dollar I sent to my parents was a dollar I couldn't put toward Noah's college fund, a dollar I couldn't save for our own house, a dollar I couldn't invest in our future. But my parents never seemed to see it that way. To them, I was the successful one. I had a good job. I made good money. I didn't have to worry about finances the way they did. So why shouldn't I help? What they didn't know or didn't care to know was that I was living in a modest 2-bedroom apartment when I could have afforded a house. I was driving a 10-year-old Honda when I could have upgraded. I was skipping vacations, delaying retirement savings, and saying no to opportunities because I was too busy being their financial safety net. And then there was the family dynamic. My sister Sarah was the golden child. She could do no wrong in my parents' eyes. She was finding herself. She was exploring her options. She had so much potential. I, on the other hand, was the workhorse, the reliable one, the one who had her life together, so naturally I should carry the family. Every Thanksgiving, I paid for the turkey. Every Christmas, I bought gifts for everyone, while Sarah showed up empty-handed and got praised for being there. Every birthday, every holiday, every family gathering, I was the bank. And my parents' treatment of Noah? That should have been my first clue that something was deeply wrong. My son is the light of my life. He's funny, energetic, curious about everything. He's a normal 3-year-old with normal 3-year-old energy. But my parents treated him like an inconvenience. At Thanksgiving 2 years ago, my mother made a comment about how Noah cries too much and how I needed to discipline him better. He was 18 months old. Toddlers cry. That's what they do. Last Christmas, my father canceled our planned visit because Noah was too energetic and he couldn't handle the noise. We'd been planning that visit for months. Noah had been excited to see his grandparents, but their comfort mattered more than their grandson's feelings. This past Easter, they forgot to include Noah in the Easter egg hunt they'd planned. They had eggs for Sarah's future kids that don't even exist yet, but nothing for their actual, living, breathing grandson. Every incident hurt, but I rationalized it. They're just tired. They're stressed about money. They're from a different generation. They'll warm up to him eventually. I was making excuses for the inexcusable. I was so deep in the pattern of people-pleasing and family loyalty that I couldn't see what was right in front of me. My parents didn't just fail to appreciate me. They actively resented my son. But I didn't see the full picture, not until that video. It was a Tuesday night. Noah was asleep. I was finishing up some work emails, winding down for the night. My phone buzzed with a video message from Sarah. The thumbnail showed my parents' kitchen. I could see my mom's coffee mug, my dad's reading glasses on the counter. It looked like a regular evening at their house. Then, 3 seconds later, another message from Sarah. OMG, wrong person. Delete that. But it was too late. I'd already pressed play. The video started mid-conversation. My parents were sitting at the kitchen table with Sarah. They were having coffee, talking casually. My mother was gesturing with her hands, the way she always does when she's worked up about something. Then I heard it. I just don't understand why she had that child. My mother's voice was clear, unmistakable. She's not married, she barely has time for herself, and now she's stuck with this responsibility. My hands started shaking. I turned up the volume. My father's voice came next. Noah is exhausting. Every time they visit, it's chaos. Toys everywhere, noise constantly. Honestly, he feels like more of a burden than a blessing. I felt like I'd been punched in the stomach. These were my parents, talking about my son, my 3-year-old son, calling him a burden. But the worst part was still coming. Sarah's laugh echoed through my phone speakers. At least she pays the bills, right? That's something. They were all laughing, the 3 of them, laughing about how I was funding their entire lives, while they talked about my son like he was some kind of mistake. I watched the video again, and again, 7 times total, each time hoping I'd misheard, hoping there was some context I was missing, some explanation that would make this okay. There wasn't. My hands were shaking so badly, I almost dropped my phone. My heart was pounding in my ears. I felt nauseous. I stumbled to the bathroom and sat on the cold tile floor for 30 minutes, trying to process what I'd just seen. These were the people I'd sacrificed for. The people I'd given $327,900 to over 8 years. The people I'd put before my own financial security, before my own son's future, before my own happiness. And they were calling Noah a burden, while I paid their mortgage. My phone buzzed again. Sarah panicking. "Jen, please, it's not what it sounds like." Then another message. They were just venting they love Noah. And another, "Don't overreact, please." I didn't respond. Instead, I opened my banking app and looked at the payment history. 8 years of transfers, hundreds of thousands of dollars. Every single month, without fail, I'd sent money to people who were sitting around their kitchen table. The kitchen I'd helped pay to renovate, laughing about my son. Something crystallized in that moment, a clarity I'd never felt before. This wasn't love, this wasn't family, this was exploitation, pure and simple. And it had been happening right under my nose for years. I didn't sleep that night. I couldn't. Every time I closed my eyes, I heard my mother's voice, more of a burden than a blessing. By 6 a.m., I was sitting at my kitchen table with my laptop, a notebook, and a determination I'd never felt before. Noah would be waking up soon. I'd make him breakfast, pack his lunch, drop him off at daycare. I'd smile and act normal because that's what parents do. We protect our children from the ugliness of the world. But everything had changed. I called in sick to work. After dropping Noah at daycare, I drove to a coffee shop across town where nobody knew me. I ordered a large coffee and opened my laptop. First, I opened a spreadsheet. Time to document everything. 8 years, 96 months of payments. I pulled up my bank statements going back to 2016 and started entering numbers. Mortgage, $12,400 per month. Utilities, $800 average. Extra help, groceries, car payments, random requests. I was meticulous, every single transaction. The final number made me sick. $372,200. Over $300,000. That was more than a down payment on a house. That was 4 years of college tuition for Noah. That was a fully funded retirement account. That was financial security I'd given away, while my parents sat in their kitchen calling my son a burden. But the money was only part of it. What about the emotional cost? The years of guilt trips, the manipulation, the constant feeling that I was never doing enough. The way they'd made me feel selfish for even thinking about stopping payments. I opened a new document and started writing every incident I could remember, every manipulation tactic, every red flag I'd ignored. The time my mom called me at 2 a.m. demanding money for an emergency that turned out to be a vacation she wanted to take. The time my dad threatened to disown me when I suggested they apply for jobs. The time they uninvited Noah from Christmas because he was too much work. Hours passed, my coffee went cold, but I kept writing. By noon, I had a complete picture of 8 years of financial and emotional abuse. Because that's what it was, abuse. I could see it now with painful clarity. Next, I needed professional help. I made 3 phone calls. First, an attorney specializing in family law. Monica Chen had good reviews and experience with financial disputes between family members. Her receptionist got me an appointment for the following morning. Second, a therapist. Dr. Laura Stevens specialized in family trauma and boundary setting. She had an opening later that week. Third, a financial advisor. Tom Rodriguez had helped a friend of mine reorganize her finances after a divorce. He could see me next Monday. Then I did something I'd never done before. I created a new bank account at a completely different institution. Not just a new account at my current bank, a whole new bank where my parents had zero access, zero information, zero control. I sat back and looked at my notes. A plan was forming. I couldn't just stop paying immediately. That would be reactive, emotional, messy. I needed to be strategic. I needed documentation. I needed legal protection. I needed to make sure that when I finally cut them off, they couldn't manipulate, threaten, or guilt their way back in. The mortgage was due on the 15th. Today was the 3rd. I had 12 days to prepare, 12 days to build my case, 12 days to steel myself emotionally, 12 days to set up the infrastructure I'd need to protect myself and Noah from the fallout, because there would be fallout. I knew my parents well enough to predict exactly how this would go. First shock, then denial, then anger, then guilt-tripping, then threats, then possibly legal action. I needed to be ready for all of it. I picked up my phone and backed up the video Sarah had sent. 3 copies, one in the cloud, one on a USB drive I'd give to my attorney, one on my laptop's hard drive. This was my evidence, my proof that I wasn't crazy, wasn't cruel, wasn't overreacting. They'd called my son a burden while I paid their bills. That single fact would be my North Star. Whenever doubt crept in, whenever guilt tried to pull me back, I'd remember those words. That afternoon, I picked up Noah from daycare. He ran to me with that huge smile he always has, chattering about his day, showing me the picture he'd drawn. We went to the park, we got ice cream, we came home and made dinner together. Well, I made dinner while he helped by arranging the carrot sticks into smiley faces. At bedtime, I held him a little longer than usual. "Mommy loves you so, so much," I whispered. "You are not a burden. You are the best thing that ever happened to me, and I will always, always protect you." He was already half asleep, but he mumbled, "Love you too, Mommy." After he was asleep, I went back to my laptop. My phone had been buzzing all day with messages from Sarah. I'd ignored everyone, but now I read them. "Jen, please call me." They didn't mean it like that. You're taking it out of context. Family fights, but we get through it. Don't throw away 8 years over one stupid comment. One stupid comment. As if that's all it was. As if 8 years of financial exploitation paired with contempt for my child was something to just get through. I opened a new document and drafted my response. Not to send now. I wouldn't tip my hand yet, but I wanted it ready. Short, clear, final. Mom and Dad, after careful consideration, I will no longer be able to provide financial support. Effective immediately, I will not be making any further payments toward your mortgage, utilities, or other expenses. This decision is final. I wish you well in making alternative arrangements. Jennifer. Professional, unemotional, no room for negotiation. I saved it as a draft and closed my laptop. The next morning, I went to work. I smiled at my colleagues. I ran my meetings. I reviewed my project timelines. Nobody had any idea that my entire world had shifted on its axis. At lunch, I drove to Monica Chen's office. Her office was in a modern building downtown, all glass and steel, professional, serious, exactly what I needed. Monica was in her mid-40s, sharp-eyed and direct. I liked her immediately. I showed her the video. I showed her my financial records. I showed her the text messages from Sarah. I laid it all out. She watched the video twice, her expression never changing. Then she looked at me. Do you want my legal assessment or my personal opinion first? Legal. Legally, you're completely in the clear. You've been making voluntary gifts for 8 years. No written agreement, no contract, no legal obligation to continue. You can stop paying any time. If they try to sue, and they might, they'll lose. The only complication would be if they can prove some kind of verbal contract. But even then, family support agreements are notoriously hard to enforce. And your personal opinion? Your parents are financial abusers. What they've done to you is textbook exploitation. That video shows clear contempt for your child while continuing to accept your money. You're not just legally entitled to stop. You're ethically obligated to protect yourself and your son. I felt something release in my chest, validation, from someone with no stake in the game, someone whose job was to see situations clearly. What about retaliation? They could make things difficult. Monica nodded. They probably will. I recommend we prepare for several scenarios. First, I'll draft a formal notice of cessation of support. That's the message you'll send. Second, we'll compile all your evidence in case they try legal action. Third, we'll discuss protective measures for you and your son. Protective measures? Have they ever been violent? No, but they're manipulative. Manipulation can escalate when someone loses their power source. I want you to change locks, update emergency contacts, make sure Noah's daycare knows not to release him to anyone but you. Better safe than sorry. We spent 2 hours going through everything. By the time I left her office, I had a plan. A real, legally sound, professionally crafted plan. That evening, I had my first session with Dr. Stevens. Therapy had always seemed like something other people needed, not me. I was strong. I could handle things. But sitting in her comfortable office, looking at the kind eyes of someone trained to understand family trauma, I realized how much I'd been carrying. I told her everything. The 8 years of payments, the favoritism toward Sarah, the dismissal of Noah, the video, the rage I felt, the guilt that came with the rage. Why do I still feel guilty? I asked. I know what they did was wrong. I know I should stop paying, but part of me still feels like I'm abandoning them. Dr. Stevens leaned forward. That's the conditioning talking. You've been trained since childhood to believe your worth is tied to your usefulness to your parents. When you stop being useful, you feel like you're losing your value. But Jennifer, your value isn't in what you do for others. It's inherent. You matter because you exist, not because you pay bills. Something about the way she said it made me start crying, really crying for the first time. Since watching that video, all the years of feeling like I was never enough, never doing enough, never being enough, it all came pouring out. What they said about Noah, I managed between sobs. How could they say that about a 3-year-old, their own grandson? Because they don't see him as a person, they see him as an inconvenience that takes your attention and resources away from them. In their minds, you exist to serve their needs. Noah interferes with that. Hearing it stated so baldly was both painful and clarifying. We talked about my plan. She helped me understand what reactions to expect and how to manage my own emotional responses. She gave me tools for handling the guilt, the anger, the inevitable moments of doubt. The hardest part will be maintaining your boundary when they escalate, she warned. They'll try everything: guilt, anger, manipulation, maybe even threats. Your job is to remember your why. Why are you doing this? To protect Noah, to protect myself. Exactly. And anytime you waver, come back to that. Is paying their bills protecting Noah? Is tolerating their contempt protecting yourself? The answer was obvious. Over the next week, I built my fortress. I met with Tom, my financial advisor, who showed me projections of what my finances could look like if I stopped the payments. Within 5 years, I could have a full emergency fund, a fully funded retirement account, and Noah's college education secured. Within 10 years, I could own a home outright. You've been living like you make $40,000 a year when you actually make $95,000, he said. You've artificially limited your entire life to fund other adults who are perfectly capable of working. I updated all my accounts. New banks, new passwords, new security questions. I removed my parents from every emergency contact list. I met with Noah's daycare director and explained that my parents were not authorized to pick him up under any circumstances. Is everything okay? She asked, concerned. It will be, I said. I'm just establishing some boundaries. I told my closest friends what was happening. My best friend Michelle had been watching this dynamic for years. When I showed her the video, her face went white. Jennifer, I've been wanting to say something for years, but I didn't think you'd listen. They've been using you. I'm so glad you finally see it. She promised to support me through whatever came next. So did my other friends. My support network was solid. I contacted Aunt Patricia, my dad's sister. She'd always been kind to me, and I suspected she might have her own issues with my parents. When I called her, she sighed deeply. I've been waiting for you to wake up, honey. Your parents have been taking advantage of you for years. They did the same thing to me a decade ago. Borrowed $50,000 and never paid me back. I finally had to cut them off completely. Why didn't you tell me? Would you have believed me? She was right. I wouldn't have. I had to discover the truth myself. When you stop paying, she said, they're going to come after me again. And I'm going to tell them no. You're not alone in this. Having allies, people who validated my reality, made all the difference. The days counted down. November 10th, November 11th, November 12th. With each passing day, I felt stronger and more certain. This wasn't revenge. This wasn't cruelty. This was simply refusing to be exploited anymore. During those 12 days, I played the perfect daughter. I texted my mom about recipes. I asked my dad about his golf game. I sent pictures of Noah. They responded warmly, completely oblivious to what was coming. Sarah tried calling a few times, but I let it go to voicemail. I'd deal with her later. November 14th, the day before the mortgage was due. I reviewed everything one final time. The attorney had approved my message. The therapist had helped me prepare emotionally. My support network was in place. My financial infrastructure was secure. Noah was protected. I was ready. That night, after Noah went to bed, I sat on my couch with my laptop. I opened the draft message I'd written, read it one more time. This was it. Once I sent this, there was no going back. My relationship with my parents would be permanently altered, maybe ended entirely. I thought about 8-year-old me, who'd believed family meant unconditional love. I thought about 27-year-old me, who'd started these payments believing I was helping. I thought about current me, who'd finally learned that love shouldn't come with an invoice. And I thought about Noah, asleep in his bedroom, completely innocent, completely perfect, completely undeserving of being called a burden. My finger hovered over the send button. Then I remembered my mother's voice. More of a burden than a blessing. I pressed send. November 15th arrived. I woke up at 6 a.m., made Noah breakfast, and opened my banking app. The mortgage payment was due. My finger hovered over the screen for just a moment. Then I closed the app. At 9 a.m., I sent the message. Mom and Dad, after careful consideration, I will no longer be able to provide financial support. Effective immediately, I will not be making any further payments toward your mortgage, utilities, or other expenses. This decision is final. I wish you well in making alternative arrangements. Jennifer. I sent it via email and text message simultaneously. CC'd my attorney Monica Chen on the email. BCC'd myself for documentation. Short, professional, final. No room for negotiation. Then I put my phone on silent and went to work. For the first 2 hours, I didn't check my phone once. I had a 9:30 meeting with my team, a 10:15 call with a vendor. Normal Tuesday morning things. But my heart was pounding the entire time. I knew what was happening. I knew they were reading the message, processing it, starting to panic. At 11, during a bathroom break, I checked my phone. 17 missed calls, 12 text messages, 3 emails. I took a deep breath and started reading. 11:23 a.m., Mom's voicemail. Honey, I think there's a mistake with your message. Call me back, sweetie. Her tone was confused, almost amused, like I'd accidentally sent the wrong message. Like this was just a silly error we'd laugh about later. 11:45 a.m., Dad's text. Jennifer, very funny. Payment is due today. Please handle this. Still commanding. Still assuming I'd fall in line. Not even a question, a demand. 12:05 p.m., Sarah's text. What the hell are you doing? Mom just called me crying. 12:30 p.m., Sarah again. Jen, what the hell? Mom is freaking out. Just pay the damn bill and stop being dramatic. There it was. Stop being dramatic. As if 8 years of payments and being called an ATM while they insulted my son was just me being dramatic. I didn't respond to any of them. I saved every message, every voicemail, and went back to work. By 1:15 p.m., the tone had shifted. Mom called 4 times in a row. I let each one go to voicemail. The 4th message was different. Jennifer Marie Martinez, You answer this phone right now. This is not funny. Your father and I need to talk to you about this immediately. Using my full name. The intimidation tactic she'd used since I was a child. The tone that used to make me scramble to fix whatever I'd done wrong. But I wasn't a child anymore, and I hadn't done anything wrong. Between 2 and 5 p.m., my phone exploded. 17 more calls, 23 text messages, 3 emails, all variations of the same themes. This must be a mistake. You're not serious. We need to discuss this. Think of family. I documented every single one and continued my workday. At 5:30 p.m., the anger phase fully emerged. Dad's text, "After everything we've done for you, this is how you repay us? You ungrateful..." The message cut off there, too angry to even finish the sentence. Mom's email had the subject line, "Disappointed." The body was a 3-paragraph guilt trip about all the sacrifices they'd made raising me, how they'd given me everything, how I was throwing their love back in their faces. Not one word about the video, not one acknowledgement of what they'd said about Noah. Just outrage that I dared to stop funding their lifestyle. Sarah's text, "You're destroying this family over one video. Grow up." One video, as if that's all it was. Not 8 years of exploitation, not $300,000, not the systematic devaluation of my son. Just one video I was overreacting about. I took screenshots of everything and forwarded them all to Monica Chen. Her response came within minutes. "Perfect. They're building your case for you. Don't engage. Let them keep talking." That evening, after putting Noah to bed, I sat on my couch with a glass of wine and finally let myself feel it. The rage, the vindication, the fear, the freedom. My phone was still buzzing. I turned it completely off. For the first time in 8 years, I went to bed knowing I didn't owe anyone anything. The silence was beautiful. Day 2 brought escalation. I woke up to 43 notifications. I'd turned my phone back on at 6 a.m., and the messages had piled up overnight. 2:47 a.m. "Mom, I can't sleep. How could you do this to us?" 3:15 a.m. "Dad, the bank called. Late fee assessed. This is on you." 4:02 a.m. Sarah, "Thanks a lot. Now they're calling me for money." That last one almost made me laugh. Welcome to my world, Sarah. But day 2 brought something new. The flying monkeys. 9:30 a.m. Aunt Carol, Dad's other sister. "Jennifer, your parents are devastated. I understand you're upset, but this seems extreme. Can't you all just talk?" I'd been expecting this. Monica had warned me. When the primary targets can't reach you, they deploy people to do it for them. I kept my response simple. "Aunt Carol, I love you, but this is between me and them. I'm not discussing it." She pushed back. "But they're saying you just abandoned them. They might lose the house." "Did they mention I've paid their mortgage for 8 years? Or show you the video of them calling Noah a burden?" Long pause, then, "What video?" "Ask them." I ended the call. 5 minutes later, my phone rang again. It was Aunt Carol. "Jennifer, I just talked to your mother. She says you're taking things out of context. Did she show you the video?" "She says it was just venting, that you're being oversensitive." "So she didn't show you the video?" Another pause. "No." "That tells you everything you need to know. I love you, Aunt Carol, but I'm not engaging with this anymore." I hung up, blocked her number temporarily. I'd unblock it later, but I couldn't handle being a conduit for my parents' manipulation right now. But then a text came through from my cousin David. "Heard about the drama. Your parents are playing victim hard. What's the real story?" David had always been straightforward. He'd had his own issues with my dad over the years. I made a decision and sent him the video. 3 minutes later, "Holy shit, I'm sorry, Jen. They've been lying to everyone." Finally, an ally in the extended family. "Don't tell them I sent you this," I typed back. "I won't, but I'm done pretending they're victims here. You did the right thing." That validation meant more than I expected. Day 3 brought the public relations campaign. I was at my desk when my friend Michelle texted me, "Have you seen your mom's Facebook?" I hadn't. I'd unfollowed my parents months ago because their posts were always passive-aggressive complaints about young people being selfish. Michelle sent me a screenshot. My mother had posted, "Praying for family healing tonight. Sometimes those you sacrifice everything for turn their backs when you need them most." Family first. Heartbroken. The comments section was full of concerned friends asking what happened, distant relatives offering prayers, and Sarah commenting with a heart emoji. My first instinct was to respond publicly, to post the video, to expose everything. But Monica had been clear. Don't engage on social media. Let them build their narrative. The truth always comes out. And when it does, everyone will see who the real manipulators are. Instead, I sent private messages to my close friends. If you see drama from my parents on social media, know there's context they're not sharing. I'm happy to explain privately if you're curious. 3 friends immediately asked. I sent them the video. Their responses were unanimous shock and support. The truth was spreading, quietly but effectively. Day 4 brought the apology that wasn't really an apology. Dad's email arrived at 7:15 a.m. with the subject line, "I'm sorry. Jennifer, I apologize if anything I said hurt you. You know I love Noah. I was just tired that day. Let's move past this. The mortgage company called. We need to resolve this immediately. Can you just make one more payment while we figure things out?" I read it 3 times, analyzing each sentence. If anything hurt you, not for what I said. Conditional, minimizing. I was just tired. Excuse, not accountability. Let's move past this. Rug sweeping. Can you just make one more payment? The real purpose of the email. It wasn't an apology. It was a negotiation tactic. I replied with 2 words. The decision is final. Then I blocked his email address. Days 5 through 7 brought the threat phase. Dad's text on day 5. "You're forcing our hand here, Jennifer. We have legal options. Don't think we won't use them." Mom's voicemail on day 6. "If you want to see what a real bad parent looks like, keep this up. We gave you everything, and you became this selfish, cold person. I don't even recognize you." Sarah's text on day 7. "They're talking about suing you for elder abandonment. You know they will." I forwarded everything to Monica. Her response, "Let them try. I'll bury them in evidence. Save those threats." Meanwhile, the financial consequences were hitting them. Day 8. Bank notification of late fee, $150. Day 10. Utility companies sending past due notices. Day 11. Sarah's panic text. "Jen, the power might get shut off. Mom is having chest pains. Are you happy now?" The chest pains claim was classic manipulation. My mother had been having chest pains whenever she wanted sympathy for 20 years. They always mysteriously disappeared once she got what she wanted. Old Jennifer would have panicked, would have rushed to help, would have paid the bills and apologized for causing stress. New Jennifer typed back, "They should contact social services if they need assistance." Then I called my therapist for an emergency session. because even though I knew I was doing the right thing, the guilt was crushing. Dr. Stevens talked me through it. Your mother has trained you to believe you're responsible for her emotions. You're not. She's an adult. She has options. She's choosing manipulation. That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept imagining my mother in the hospital. What if something really happened? What if she actually had a heart attack and I'd refused to help? At 3 a.m., I called the non-emergency police line in my parents' town and asked them to do a wellness check. The officer called me back 20 minutes later. "Ma'am, we checked on the residents. Both individuals are fine." They seemed surprised we were there. Relief flooded through me. She was fine. It had been manipulation, just like I'd suspected. Day 12 brought the unexpected breakthrough. Aunt Patricia called. "Jennifer, I need to tell you something. Your parents asked me for money today." "What did you say?" I said no, and when I asked about you, the whole truth came out. Your mother admitted they've been venting about Noah for months. Your father said they didn't think you'd actually stop paying. They saw you as a guaranteed income source, not a daughter. She paused. I told them they got exactly what they deserved, and then I sent them a bill for the $50,000 they owe me from 10 years ago. I started crying. Not sad tears, relief tears. Someone in the family, someone who'd known them for decades, was validating my reality. "You're not alone in this," Patricia said. "You did the right thing. I'm proud of you." By day 14, I felt stronger than I had in years. I'd held my boundary through guilt trips, threats, manipulation, and social pressure. I'd protected Noah and myself. I'd built a support system of people who saw the truth. Then the letter arrived. It came via certified mail, legal letterhead, from Jacobson and Associates, attorneys at law. My hands shook as I opened it. On behalf of Robert and Linda Martinez, we demand immediate resumption of financial support based on established pattern of support, 8 years, verbal agreement to assist elderly parents, elder financial abuse by sudden abandonment, and emotional distress caused. They were actually doing it. They were suing me. I immediately called Monica Chen. "Don't panic," she said after I'd read her the letter. "This is what I call a scary letter. It's designed to intimidate you into compliance. They have no case, but we need to respond properly." Within 2 hours, Monica had drafted a counter letter. She read it to me over the phone, and I felt my anxiety transform into something else entirely: vindication. "Dear counsel, your client's claims are entirely without merit. Pattern of support. All payments were gifts. No written agreement, no legal obligation. Verbal agreement. Cannot prove, no witnesses, irrelevant to law. Elder abuse. Clients are 62 and 60, employed, not disabled, not vulnerable adults under law. Emotional distress caused by their own documented statements about their grandchild." Monica continued. "Furthermore, my client possesses bank records proving $307,200 in voluntary gifts over 8 years, evidence of manipulation and emotional abuse, video documentation of disparaging statements about minor child, and witness testimony of favoritism and financial exploitation patterns." Then came the part that made me smile. "Should your clients proceed with legal action, we will countersue for return of all gifts under duress, file for protective orders regarding grandchild access, and publicize evidence of emotional abuse in court proceedings. Advise your clients to drop this matter immediately." Monica sent the letter. 2 days later, their attorney called her. "My clients may have overstated their position. Can we discuss settlement? Monica's response was ice cold. Settlement? Your clients owe my client over $300,000 and emotional damages. We'll discuss when they apologize publicly and sign a no-contact agreement regarding the grandchild. Silence on the other end. The case was dropped. They'd given up. The social fallout was swift and revealing. Aunt Patricia posted on Facebook, proud of family members who have the courage to set healthy boundaries, even when it's difficult. Real love doesn't come with invoices. Supporting survivor. Several people commented asking what she meant. The Whisper network was growing. Cousin David posted his own story about setting boundaries with toxic family. He didn't name my parents specifically, but everyone in the family knew. Uncle Mark, my dad's brother and biggest defender, unfriended me on Facebook. I took it as a badge of honor. Aunt Carol sent a private message. I'm sorry I didn't believe you at first. I talked to Patricia. I had no idea how bad it was. My friends rallied around me completely. Michelle organized a girls' night where 5 of my closest friends came over after Noah was in bed, brought wine and takeout, and just let me talk. I can't believe they actually tried to sue you, my friend Rachel said. I can, Michelle replied. They've been using her for years. Of course they'd try one last manipulation. At work, people noticed a change in me. My boss pulled me aside. Jennifer, I don't know what's changed, but your work has been exceptional lately. You seem more focused, more confident. There's a senior project manager position opening up. Would you be interested? A promotion, a 30% salary increase, more responsibility. A year ago, I would have hesitated, worried about having enough time and energy for my parents' needs. Yes, I said without hesitation. I'm absolutely interested. 3 weeks after I'd stopped payments, Sarah's tune completely changed. Her text, I get it now. I didn't respond, but she kept going. They asked me to cover utilities. I said I'm broke. Dad said, you're as ungrateful as your sister. I never realized they only love us when we're useful. Then, I'm moving out. I can't do this anymore. And finally, I'm sorry I didn't see it before. I'm sorry I called you dramatic. You were right. I stared at the messages for a long time. Part of me wanted to gloat, to say I told you so, to make her feel the years of being dismissed. But mostly I just felt sad for her. I forgive you, I typed back, but I won't forget. You need to figure out your own boundaries. I can't do that work for you. I know, I'm trying. By week 6, my parents' financial situation had deteriorated significantly. Through Patricia, I heard updates I hadn't asked for, but that validated my decision. They'd had to sell their car, the one I'd helped them buy 2 years ago. They'd maxed out their credit cards paying for utilities. They'd taken out a payday loan to cover the mortgage, which they'd then defaulted on. The house was in pre-foreclosure. Meanwhile, I'd put $1,500 into Noah's college fund, $800 into my retirement account, $500 into my emergency fund, and $400 towards swimming lessons Noah had been begging for. For the first time in 8 years, my money was going to my actual family, me and Noah. Thanksgiving arrived 6 weeks after I'd stopped payments. In previous years, I would have hosted or paid for everything at my parents' house. The thought of managing that tension had kept me anxious for weeks in advance. This year, Noah and I volunteered at a soup kitchen in the morning, then went to a movie and got ice cream, just the 2 of us. Mommy, this is the best Thanksgiving, Noah said, chocolate ice cream on his face. No walking on eggshells, no demands, no guilt trips, just peace. That night, after Noah was asleep, I started a private Facebook group. Adult Children of Financial Abusers, Support and Strategy. I wrote a brief post explaining the concept, a safe space for people who'd experienced financial exploitation by family members to share stories, strategies, and support. Within a week, 200 people had joined. Within a month, 847 members. The stories poured in, people in their 40s and 50s who were still funding their parents' lifestyles, young adults being guilt-tripped into covering family bills, middle-aged children being told they owed their parents for being raised, the common thread in every story, love being conditional on financial usefulness. People shared legal advice, therapist recommendations, scripts for setting boundaries, and encouragement. The community became a lifeline for people who felt alone in their situations. One message stood out. I've been supporting my mother for 12 years. Reading your story gave me the courage to stop. Thank you for showing it's not abandonment, it's survival. That's when I realized my pain had become purpose. My story could help others break free. 8 weeks post-cutoff, something unexpected happened. A documentary producer reached out through my blog. We're doing a piece on family financial abuse. Would you be willing to share your story? I consulted with Monica and Dr. Stevens. After careful consideration, I agreed, but only if my identity was protected and the focus was on patterns of exploitation, not personal revenge. The segment aired 3 months later. It featured 5 stories, including mine. The response was overwhelming. Thousands of people reached out sharing their own experiences. The documentary sparked conversations about financial boundaries, elder entitlement, and generational expectations. My inbox filled with messages. I thought I was the only one. My family is exactly like this. You gave me permission to stop. But the real transformation happened in smaller, quieter ways. December 25th, Christmas morning. I woke up in my apartment, no demands waiting in my inbox, no guilt trips, no last-minute requests for money, no comparing myself to Sarah. Just me and Noah in matching pajamas, drinking hot chocolate, watching Christmas movies. Noah's laughter filling the apartment. No tension, no pretending, just genuine joy. Mommy, can we make cookies? Absolutely. We spent the afternoon baking, making a mess, decorating cookies that looked nothing like the Pinterest photos, but that Noah was incredibly proud of. That evening, after Noah was asleep, I sat in my living room and took stock. 6 months ago, I'd been an ATM. Today, I was a human being with boundaries. My son knew he was cherished, not tolerated. My bank account was growing, not depleting. My career was thriving, not just surviving. My relationships were nourishing, not draining. I thought about the Jennifer who'd opened that video at 11:47 p.m. 6 months ago. The one who'd been so devastated, she'd sat on her bathroom floor, unable to process what she'd heard. I wanted to tell her, it gets better. It gets so much better. The guilt fades. The anger transforms into clarity. The fear becomes strength. The manipulation loses its power when you stop engaging with it. My phone buzzed. A text from Michelle. Merry Christmas. How's your first Christmas of freedom? Perfect, I replied. Absolutely perfect. And it was. For the first time in years, I wasn't spending Christmas worried about whether I'd done enough, given enough, been enough for people who would never be satisfied. I was enough. I'd always been enough. I just hadn't known it. Month 9 brought an unexpected test. Sarah called me, panicked. "Jen, Mom's in the hospital. It's her heart. It's serious this time." Every instinct screamed at me to rush to help. But I'd learned to pause, to consult my support system. I called Dr. Stevens. What if it's real this time? What if something actually happens? "Do you want to go?" I thought about it honestly. "No, I don't trust them. I don't feel safe there." "Then don't go. You can care about someone from a distance. You can hope they're okay without putting yourself in a position to be manipulated again." I sent flowers to the hospital, anonymous, and I sent a check directly to the hospital to cover any costs insurance didn't, not to my parents, but to the billing department. Compassion without connection, care without compromise. My mother recovered. It had been a mild cardiac event, stress-related. She was fine within a week, and I was fine too. I'd maintained my boundary even during a crisis. That's when I knew I was really free. By month 12, 1 full year after stopping payments, my life was unrecognizable. Financially, I'd saved $38,400, invested $18,000 in retirement, built a $15,000 emergency fund, started Noah's college fund with $5,400, and spent $5,000 on experiences, a real vacation, activities for Noah, small luxuries that reminded me I was worth investing in. Career-wise, I'd gotten that senior PM promotion, led successful projects, earned respect from colleagues who noticed my increased confidence and focus. And personally, I'd started dating again, carefully, slowly, with clear boundaries. I'd learned to recognize red flags immediately. Guys who mentioned constantly helping family financially. Next, love bombers who rushed intimacy, pass. Men who tested my boundaries, goodbye. And then I met David, not my cousin, a different David. An accountant, single dad, to a 7-year-old daughter. Kind, boundaried, emotionally available, without being needy. On our third date, Noah came up. David's face lit up. "Kids are such a blessing. My daughter is the best thing that ever happened to me." Not a burden, a blessing. I knew in that moment I'd found someone who understood what really mattered. The best part? Noah was thriving. His daycare director pulled me aside. "Whatever you've changed in your life, keep doing it. Noah is more secure, more confident. He talks about how happy Mommy is." My stress had been affecting him. By protecting myself, I'd protected him too. Standing in my living room on the 1-year anniversary of sending that message, I reflected on everything. They'd called Noah a burden while I paid their mortgage. That video had been the worst and best thing that ever happened to me. The worst because it shattered my illusions. The best because it set me free. I'd learned that family isn't who you're born to. It's who shows up, respects you, and loves you without invoices attached. I'd learned that setting boundaries isn't cruelty, it's survival. I'd learned that I didn't just cut off toxic parents. I cut off the version of myself that believed I deserved to be used. My phone hadn't rung with demands in months. My inbox wasn't full of guilt trips. My bank account was mine. I picked up Noah from his room where he was playing, hugged him tight. "Mommy loves you so much. You're not a burden. You're the reason I learned to set myself free." He giggled and squirmed. "Mommy, you're squishing me." I laughed and loosened my grip. "Sorry, buddy, just really happy." "Me too, Mommy, me too." And we were, finally, genuinely, completely happy. If you're watching this and you're in a similar situation, being used by family, treated like an ATM, having your love exploited, please hear this. You are not obligated to fund other adults' choices. You are allowed to say no. You are allowed to protect your peace and your children. The guilt will try to pull you back. The flying monkeys will call you selfish. The manipulators will play victim. But on the other side of that boundary, there's a life waiting for you. A life where you're valued, not used. Respected, not exploited. Where your children learn self-respect by watching you enforce it. I paid $317,200 to learn that lesson. You can learn it right now for free. Choose yourself. Choose your peace. Choose your future. You're worth it.